Welcome to my last video or my last reflection. It has been a journey, and don't mind this one. It's probably going to be a little bit on the quicker end because we're just going to go over three key takeaways. And I don't really have any examples for this week. This is just general thoughts that I've um, definitely found um, for myself that are the biggest three things to take away from the course and how to use it moving forward. So luckily for whoever ends up marking this, you guys don't have to sit through uh, as long. But anyways, so the first key takeaway for me was you're not the market. And the reason why that was a huge key takeaway for me is because a lot of the class we spent was sort of like obviously learning about the different tactics, but was like, oh, like this isn't dead, or people actually do use this, or here there's a place for this. Companies do this, and this is why. And I think that the reason why you are not the market works as a good key takeaway for me is that at the end of the day, in order to really be impactful, you have to realize that at the end of the day, just because you might not do something doesn't mean other people might not do something. And therefore, you need to attempt to explore what you are actually using. Because for me, it's like at the end of the day, advertising and marketing is almost useless because I don't pay any attention to it. I don't really do too much in terms of like I go out of my way to spend money because I don't spend money. I just buy food. I pretty much pay for the mandatories like food, utilities, rent, and for me the gym. But like that wasn't even marketed towards me. I go to Mac because it's free and it's way better than any other gym close to here. So therefore, when I go to or when I graduate this year and I don't get it for free, I'll still go there because it's cheaper than most alternatives. And on top of that, anything that's more expensive, it is significantly better than. So it's like worth it in my personal opinion. So when I look at things, it's like, well, what, like, who would do that? Like, it's useless, but people actually do. And you just have to think, like, in your head that at the end of the day, just because you won't doesn't mean other people won't. And that would open up a lot of horizons or gates or doors, whatever you want to call it, so that you're not going to be limiting yourself uh, when you're working well for this. Um, for this class, the IMC project, and then for in general, it's going to be like at work. You're not going to be like, we can only do this because this is everything they use. No, it's like you want to try and utilize everything that is applied to whatever industry you're in terms of your target market. So then that would be moving on to my next point, which is utilize the mediums of marketing that apply to your target market. So similar to the last one, I think that there's still a lot of ways to go about marketing that because at the end of the day, we're not the only generation. There's a lot of other people that do things and look at things differently, which I always sort of forget because everyone I know, and when I say like I know, I don't necessarily mean um like just like Gen Z, like students, younger age, maybe younger millennials, but like I'm talking about like parents, family members, like other like coworkers, people I know that are generally older, where they still like a lot of the stuff they do is very similar to me. So I forget that there's other things that you can use. Like for example, my grandma loves magazines. My aunt loves magazines. Therefore, using print media in magazines is probably good, especially for products that they buy, such as maybe like, let's say, makeup. That might be good to have on a page that's more geared to a lot more women will buy it based on statistics, and therefore gearing that in a more women's oriented magazine so that it shows them like, oh, there is this on sale, or there is this that you can buy, new line, or something along those lines, to then go directly to your target audience. Because at the end of the day, if you're throwing out messages and just trying to get as much reach as possible, it may be good because, for example, let's say you don't necessarily try to do your target audience per se, but you just throw it at an idea and try to make it like just reach as many people as possible. Let's say, let me think here. Let's just say you try to get your word to 100,000 people about this, but you don't gear it in terms of like on the avenues that people in your target market would use. Then you might not be able to capture nearly as much, and you're not going to be utilizing your resources because your conversion rate is going to be a lot lower than if you put it into a place that you know that people that are going to go there are going to be more likely to actually make that purchase. So it's like, so I learned, I think, in business policy that sometimes it's not about generating more profit, but it's about cutting down your costs and doing more with the current, like with the same amount of money. Because it's like, if you're given, let's say, a $1 million budget, it's like trying to fine tune it so that it almost makes everything perfect, where your entire budget is almost being utilized to make sales rather than like half of it is just being seen but not actually done or like utilized in any sort of way. And I think that that's just very important because at the end of the day, um, if you're just going to be spreading your message to everybody, but it's not getting heard or anything done to, like, what's the point of your message if people just forget about it the next day? So you really do have to try and emphasize like which where you're gonna who you're gonna target, and then how you're gonna get those to like those ads to those people. And then lastly, I think this is not really like anything but specific, but I just put like be creative, because at the end of the day, I think that no matter how good your campaign is, if you find the right target market, if you find the um if you even sell the right products or whatever, if you're not creative and you're very dull, um you're not going to be getting a great brand representation, in terms of people aren't going to be looking at that and getting a wow factor like I need to buy that. So ultimately speaking, if you're really struggling with making it look visually appealing, or creating a conveying message, or trying to change your perception via maybe using an influencer, you're not going to be able to do that if the quality of your work is just not very good, because people are going to be looking at that and be like, that is not professional, or um like just discard it because it almost looks like fan mail, in other words, where it's like, why should I do this for that person when obviously like they're not really emphasizing or trying to do any sort of creative display in utilizing it. Because like at the end of the day, I think that creativity is what's going to be able to drive um or to drive people from going to seeing the ads to actually purchasing. Because I like, you have to think, um I'm just struggling for the words, but if you see something that is just bad, you'll never buy, even if you're part of the target market. Because you're gonna be looking at it and be like, well, what even is this? But if you're getting the other things and then you see something creative, you'll be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like give that a shot. And that's why I think the third key takeaway for me is just like the creativity of it. I guess that is like it stresses around what the big idea from that one video is. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the course. Thank you for watching these videos, and I'll let you go. Have a good one.